Good morning, everyone. Good morning, and welcome to Your Business in Digital on this Monday morning, this October 31st, Halloween Monday morning for those who do celebrate Halloween. Always glad to be here. As you would notice, it's three of us this morning, not four. Let me make sure you're hearing me on
Yeah.
Clubhouse. Hearing me on Clubhouse fine? Yeah, great. So, our intrepid leader is not here this morning, but the show must go on, as they say. So I'm always glad to have to be here to stand in her shoes for a while. So let the panel introduce yourself. Michelle, please go ahead.
Good Monday morning, everyone. Welcome to the Monday morning Halloween episode of Your Business in Digital. I am Michelle Gordon with Line Up Digital Consulting. I am here to help to relieve your sales and pricing pains, help you to find that revenue blind spot so that you may remain consistent and sustainable throughout the course of your business so that you may have a legacy to pass on to your family. So welcome in. Happy Monday morning. And Tamara, we miss you. We hope you're having a fantastic time in the fun in the sun.
Andrea, go ahead. Your turn. And when you're done, make us moderators on Clubhouse. Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Halloween for those of you who celebrate it as well. I am Andrea Ragu, and I am your virtual CFO for your business. I help you manage your money better for your business and make better financial decisions for the long run so that your business will be sustainable and bring you generational wealth.
Oh boy, we are in it this morning. So thanks for that great introduction from both of you. I see Clubhouse is going, so I'll just say morning to everyone in Clubhouse. Morning, Drew. Morning, Michelle. Thanks for joining us again. So we are in it. We are at the end of October, and we thought it's time to talk about getting it done. So all the things that we can do to just get into the digital marketing game and see how it affects our bottom line. We all want to make our Q4 goals, right? So we've put together 7 tips. I'm just going to just show them here for a sec, and we're going to get straight into this morning. So we are talking tips for achieving your Q4 goals. And the first one is, of course, determine your mix of products that you need to achieve your goal. The second is determine your sales strategy for those products. The third is content. Pull the numbers. What drove conversions in the last 6 months or year to date? The fourth is lean into your existing email database. Fifth, optimize and show up on your profiles. Sixth, use technology to help facilitate and automate the sales strategy. And last but not least, don't develop the pricing and strategy in a silo. So we are going to jump right into it this morning. So the first point is determining your mix of products needed to achieve your goal. Michelle, you have the floor.
Well, you know how I feel about this, gang. It is in order for us to understand how we're going to achieve our end goals for the holiday season or pick a period that we're going for, we need to have a clear understanding of that road that we're going to take, what products that we're going to sell and lead with, and how many per price of that unit that we need to sell to get to that goal. That's really important with where we're going because that will determine the product that you're leaning with. It will determine how you're going to have any products that are adjacent to it and how you're going to market those together. When you're speaking to your community, what are you saying to them to attract them into your business? So having a clear understanding of what those products are, the mix of how many units you're going to use to sell, along with what it's going to take for everybody to produce those products, to bring those to market and to move forward is really important as a place for you to start how you're going to sell this holiday season. Know what your purpose is, and that's going to give you the indication of where you need to go next.
Well, that's a great place to start. I think we've done a whole show on a Monday and a Wednesday about the math leads to math. And that's the starting point. So we're already here. You've got to get down, do some quick maths. Michelle, I agree 100%. Andrea, I know you're going to give your thoughts on this. But a good starting point is really just understanding that product mix, right? So what's the math? What's going to go into it? Andre, I'll give you the floor. We're going to do like tomorrow and just kind of say like, oh, you got 30 seconds. Hit it.
Yeah, so I like this point. And it is the great place to start because it avoids just pelting out a number, right? You have a Q4 goal. It avoids you saying, well, I want to make $20,000, right? How are you going to make this $20,000? What is the product that is going to drive you to achieve that? So it forces business owners to really sit and look at how they are going to achieve the goal rather than just saying, this is the total I want to make. They now have a clear pathway to identify, okay, who, if you identify what is the product you're going to sell, then as we will see with the later points, everything else could become very clear because you now could develop a strategy towards each product because if you focus on this product, you're going to make it 20. So I like starting. You always start at the beginning. Michelle said, know your purpose. To thy own self be true. Review your items and say, okay, this is what I want to focus on.
And let me add to that too. One of the things that's important as that had to have that as a starting place is because as we will go into many of the points, we're not going to set it and forget it. We've determined what that goal is. We are determining what are the components that it takes to achieve those goals. But there are measuring points that we need to have between now and whatever that end date is that we're using to judge. May it be the month, may it be the end of a quarter, that we will need to use to understand what our pacing needs to be to get to that end goal. So if we're looking at just a month in a silo, and let's say the goal is, like you said, $20,000 or whatever it is for that month time, then what do you need to have on the books by the end of the first week that will indicate, are you pacing to achieve that goal? And are you achieving it the way that you plotted out to get there by your product family or your service line? So we need to understand what that starting point is and what the measuring place is so that we can always review it and revise and recalibrate as needed. So that starting point is really important for us to understand truly what we're trying to accomplish. And then it gives us the ability to have that conversation with everyone else that's key in helping to make that a reality. Whoever is helping you with marketing, this is my lead product. This is where I need to get that message to. Here's my target audience for each product line so that the messaging is appropriate for it. I think I'm jumping ahead a little bit, so I think I should probably pull back a bit. But it's important that we have that number and know what the target is that we're headed for at that finish line ahead of us.
It is such a continuum. So we can lead into the second point, absolutely. But we're looking at getting it done. We're taking it from the perspective of it's Q4. What's left on your shelf to sell, right? So it's what do you have left to sell? What's in your inventory? Whether it be bandwidth for taking on new clients as a service business, or if it's a retail business, product-based business, what's left to get sold? And how do you put that product mix together? So definitely excellent place to start. Just sit down, look at what you have. How does this group of products get you to that Q4 goal? And that leads us very naturally into the second point, which is determine your sales strategy for your products. Michelle, I'm going to kick it back to you for a sec.
Absolutely. And Mike, you check before we move further, check Clubhouse to make sure that you're next time that we go on. I don't think we could hear you over there. Anyway, so our sales strategy, that's the next natural place because our messaging we need to figure out what our go-to-market strategy is based upon the products we determine that we're looking to lead with, that we're looking to sell. We've outlined in our goals for Q4, the holiday season, whatever the given period is. That's really imperative that we understand and are clear on that because there are a couple of things that are key to understanding those goals in your sales strategy. First off, your target audience. For your sales strategy and for your product lines have possibly different target audiences. What does that mean? In your world and in the buying community, that means what are the psychographics? What are the things that make that buying person commit to you? What are the triggers that makes them say, well, let me take a look at this product, that will allow them to lean into you, to know, like, and trust you, and then to listen and watch and read about your product. What are the words that you need to deliver to them in order for them to say yes to you, to lean in and buy and commit to your products, to devote their time and their hard-earned cash to you? So once you understand what the product that you're going to sell, what that target audience is, and the messaging that needs to work with that, you can have that conversation with your marketing person to understand where you need to be, because you need to be in the place that they're going to buy. You've got to be on the shelf to be purchased. And what are the sales path for them to get to that point of yes? So determine your target audience, determine what that messaging needs to be with them, make sure that you're visible in the places that they're buying and delivering that message to them on and offline, so that you can understand where your next measuring place is to the point of yes, the point of sale.
Andrea, I see you nodding. I saw like you got a light bulb moment there. Did you? Or go ahead. But listen, this is where we're talking that we're leading it. What leads into our content strategy, right? That's opening the door for this discussion. So in getting it done, we're moving very quickly. We determined our product mix. We're looking at our sales strategy. As Michelle just said, we're looking at what are those call to actions? What's that messaging? What's that tone of voice? So we definitely want to learn that before we start producing content, because of course the natural thing to do is just keep preparing content, keep preparing more content, right? And that's going to lead us to our next point. But we want to start with a strategy. We always want to be intentional about everything we do online. So this is where we're taking a track to say, taking it from the product side, taking it from that end side of what it is we're selling, looking at that strategy, looking at how we are speaking to our audience, how we're speaking to our customers, and then moving that forward into our content strategy. Andrea, any thoughts here? You're a business owner, you're doing some of this. Tell us.
Absolutely. You really have to have the strategy. And yes, that all the points actually today are so relevant to me, because I feel like I've been doing this probably since late 2019, early 2020, right? So basically during the pandemic. And I feel like this is the first year that I could truly appreciate things like putting forward a sales strategy, a marketing strategy, etc. And it really does make a difference if you sit and you attack things from a strategy perspective, especially when it comes to sales, because you will find yourself just selling blindly and then not being able to hit the target, right? So we go back to the first one where we say, well, I just want to make 20,000, and you have not a clue how you're going to attack it. So, the whole concept of, I love the point of the strategy, because it really helps you to set some actions coming out of it to say, okay, this is what I want to do. And you now have clear guidance, because other than that, you're just shooting in the dark and you're not sure if you're going to make it or not. So I love how we are pulling together this conversation today, because I think for a lot of business owners, myself included, you really go through a period of, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, right? You don't know what you're doing, and you're shooting and you're not sure. And all these points are very relevant to me as a business owner, because I think as I progress in my journey more and more, and it starts to make sense, right? And that's where the aha moments come. You go, oh, right, yeah, I should do it this way because of X, Y, and Z. So you really need this strategy in order to go forward anyway.
I think, to add on to what Andrea is saying, is your goals, that strategy, the information that we've just provided in 2 points is what's going to keep you centered. When you are, as she said, we're inevitably going to get off track for a couple of reasons. Life gets in the way, and hopefully business is so darn good that you are just, you're working your plan. You're working your plan, and the distractions are going to come from you every way to Sunday. The great thing about having the intention behind every one of your actions is when you stray, when you get detoured off to someplace, this is your GPS to bring you back on track. It's going to allow you to move back to that place and say, hold on a second, life has just gotten a bit bad. Let me self-check. Let me do that pulse check and understand, where am I to my goals, and bring you back to center so that you can continue to move forward in the fashion that makes sense, that's comfortable, that keeps you secure, because that can be a very insecure place. This is the biggest selling season of the year. It's called Black Friday for a reason. People are moving from in the negative into the positive, and this is the money-making season of the year. And it's the jumping off point for Q1. So you've got to have your act together. You've got to be intentional. And the way to do it is to just do it, but with intention. Set your goals, understand that strategy so that you're working your strategy all the time.
So thanks both for holding the floor while I was dealing with that little technical difficulty there. But absolutely right. We've got to be intentional. We've got to have a plan. As you said, what happens is that we can stray, or more importantly, we get a bit disenfranchised, right? We take actions and then we don't see the result. And then it's a bit of, I don't think this is working. I don't really believe that this will drive revenue for me. But it comes from starting with that strategy. And that leads us into the next point. So I'll take the floor this time, because we're getting into the marketing, and we're talking content, right? We're not talking what content yet or where to go. But again, these first 3 points are all about pulling together numbers and a strategy. So it's not about feeling, it's not about what you think may happen, but measurement, right? So we are literally going by the numbers. So content, pull the numbers. What drove your conversions in the last 6 months or even year to date? Remember, we are doing a quick and dirty, so we don't want to go back too far. We don't want to get caught in a research trap necessarily. But what's the content that worked in terms of its engagement, in terms of the call to actions being taken, right? And you want to just mirror that. So now that you have your mix of products, you have a strategy, you are now looking at that content and saying, okay, how can I replicate this content quickly? How can I build upon this content that I've already had that has done so well to get in front of my audience, and also push them to take actions and convert absolutely into a customer? So that's my next point. Andrea, I'm going to just pop to you. Again, we're going by the numbers here. We're measuring what worked quickly, last 6 months to a year. Tell me your thoughts. How far back should we go? What are your feelings on it?
Yeah, 6 months is a good place to start, but I would say it should also be relevant to your business. So for me personally, 6 months may not be relevant for me because I made, some changes were made. If you made significant changes in 6 months, then it might be more relevant to pull data maybe for 3 months when the change that you implemented started to take effect, right? So 6 months is a great place to start. But as I would always say when we talk in any sort of comparison and ratios and stuff, relativity and context to your business story. So if 6 months ago doesn't make sense because 6 months ago you were in a completely different place, then it wouldn't make sense, right? Because you would pull the numbers for 6 months and then get disappointed because it will be filled with things that may not be relevant. So take a look at your business, and in the last 6 months, if it is that you made any significant change, take that into consideration. If it has been normal, well, you pull it for 6 months. But this comes back to the numbers don't lie. So the numbers never lie, right? So pull the numbers that make sense for you and see, how is it working as a business owner. For me, like I said, I may not go back 6 months because I've done so many different things and I feel like, 6 months ago, where was I? And my headspace was totally different to where it is now, right? So you might want to say, okay, maybe the last 2 months might make sense because that's when I really got down and I doubled down and I did this particular thing and I would want to see if it's working. So yeah, I would say just make it still relevant to yourself.
Well, I love that you've raised that point that, you were in a completely different place 6 months ago, right? But this is the thing. Even though you were in a different place, you took intentional actions and you saw results. So you still can learn basically from what has happened. It's always goes into that experience bucket. So even if you've transitioned, I agree 100%. What we may look at is to say, as you've been making that transition, what's hit, right? Because you've taken some very intentional actions. You've changed your talk track. You've changed your storyline, your tagline. So you have had some data and you are able to see, okay, what worked. Because again, it's still you, right? It's still you. It's still your business. The way you've offered it may have changed, but you may find that you have content that's easily repurposable. You may find you have content that's easily, updated for right now. But yes, you may have to go back further, or you may have to do some other things to get to that point. Michelle, I don't know if you wanted to have some thoughts here.
Oh, I'm about to complicate this. and
Let's
here's
do it.
why.
Let's do it.
It's important to have the look back. We've talked about that a couple of times, and understanding where you were, because it's a basis of where you want to go. So it's your initial measuring point. If you are a new business owner, your measuring point is zero because you're starting from ground zero. For many of us that are in all of these spaces, we have other places that we've been in the midst of COVID. This has been COVID, and then COVID, I should say pseudo recovery in the last couple of years. But the lovely piece about this is there have been many a try. We've been able to try, remix, discover, understand what works, recalibrate, and start over again. One of the things that we started with was, what is your mix of business? We didn't walk into that blindly. It was based upon some goal that we set because of either performance in the past, or we want this to move forward in the future. So that look back is important. And it's a great place to say, well, I said I was at this and said, let's say 10 and 10 of each product, but I have one that's $10 more that I want to double its performance. So you have your basis of measurement from where you were in the past to double that performance. So it's important to understand what that point of measurement is, to understand, did you achieve that goal moving forward? That's one of your points of measurement. That data is really important for us to analyze. Was I able to put forward the mix of business in the manner that I said, which also, by the way, was double my past performance, if you're able to. If you were in business last Christmas, last holiday season, that was your jumping off point. That could be your point of measurement. I'm looking to do this much business versus last year in these segments. This business, I have a new product that was not here last year. Now I'm messing up that apple cart. Because I'm moving this business forward, I don't want to change, the performance that I had for these eyeglass cases. I want this still to be good, but I want this one also to grow as well. So when I put this one to market, am I still holding steady for this one? So there are different things that you're looking for. It is not just my bottom line revenue, it's your market segmentation. Is your product mix working? Really important, and I'm sure my CFO here is going to validate this, because there's a price point attached to each one of these things that is going to bring a different value because of its profit margins to the bottom line. So it's really important to know your numbers and utilize that and have that be your central point, that your guiding thing that you're looking for all the time, because that's going to dictate every one of your actions, not just to your buying community, but the people that you're selling to. Can you market to these people? All of your money, your bottom line profit is attached to those statistics. So it's important to know the look back and the look forward, and by segmentation, not just that bottom line number. It will break you if you're not paying attention to each one of those segments. Now I'm putting my eyeglass cases down.
So for those on Clubhouse, Michelle was giving the product comparison between two of her glasses cases. So she was holding them up in case you're wondering what she was talking about. That's what she was talking about. So yes, definitely you've got to pull numbers relevant to how you've been operating. But we are taking it from that perspective that you've been operating this year, at least you've been operating for the year. You have some type of numbers in place that you can look at. The point being, look at numbers, even if you're just getting started. And let's say that your goal was just to drive traffic to your site. You would have seen some movement. You would have seen something happen, and you want to just leverage what you've seen to continue in Q4. Because yes, this is ongoing, and it's not a one-time stop and drop in the bucket, but it's going to be an ongoing thing that we're looking at. So that takes me to the next point. And I'm going to expand on this a little more than I actually wrote. So I'm going to say lean into your existing email database. But what I mean is lean into your existing clientele database overall. So at times we are always trying to drive new customer acquisition. We're trying to bring new customers to our door. But there's also our existing customers who can become customers again, who can be advocates, who can be marketers first. So you definitely, one thing you can do during this last 2 months of the year, if you haven't been using your email database, you definitely want to jump in there and revive it. A couple of things you want to do on the outset. Look at some level of segmentation of your list before you send it out to everyone. That's going to be key. So you want to make sure that you're segmenting. Maybe it's based on the product mix. Who's bought which products in the past, right? So that's a way to reach out very quickly and ignite some, as Michelle said at the top of it, this is a season where we're primed to buy, right? So there shouldn't be much, if I've been out there, if I've been doing what I need to do, to just spark that fire and say, hey, I need that sale. Look at reconnecting with that database. Look at embedding your products directly into email. Reduce the number of clicks anyone has to take to convert. But I would say that that's definitely something that if you have an email database built, you want to lean into it. You want to try to lean into your existing customers, talk to them, get back in front of their faces, become top of mind. We've said it before, you don't want to be one of the options. You want to be the only choice. Michelle, I'm going to kick it back to you after this one. What do you think?
Well, I have a question for you, but then let me comment first on what you're saying. It's important for you to start at home base. That's essentially what you're saying. Start with what you know and have that information. If you're an existing business, and let me start there, an existing business with an existing database, start with home and delivering a message out to your buying community with the products that are relevant to them. Not just anything, but relevant to what their buying history has told you. The reason why I say you want to lean into that piece is because there's nothing like having an email not be open because you've not delivered something with a call to action that matters to them. That your open ratios is what we're called that when that email, we all have encountered that where we see something come across our email and we're checking the box and just hitting delete and putting it in the trash versus having something that's opened because we are delivering a subject line or information that is relevant to our existing buying community. Just because there are people doesn't mean that they're just simply going to always open that message from us. We still have to cater and provide a curated message that allows them to want to pay attention to us. We still have to invite them into our world. We still have to give them something that's appealing, that makes them want to open up that message, to look at our feed, to go to our site and click on and move that product further, put it in the cart and buy it. So I wanted to start there. So yes, start with home base, get that movement going, and it helps you to understand, is that messaging working? Does it make sense? Is it resonating with the buying community? That's really good because it also allows you to give the marketing people that you're working with, if you're not self-marketing, but it allows you to also to understand what resonates, because if you're paying money to advertise also, you don't want it to be wasted funds. So you want to capture new email addresses as you're putting messages out. And when you're doing your offline messaging, you really want to make sure that you're giving them something that appeals to them to make them move forward. Now, my second piece is actually a question for you, Michael. What happens if you're a new business and you don't have a healthy database. How do you go about attracting people or getting that message out in an offline place like emails? How do you go about doing something like that?
So we'll go back to the point before, content pulling the numbers. So you're still driving traffic. You're still trying to see if your sales funnel is working pretty much, right? You don't have an email database. It means that you're probably still at that building trust, that know and trust factor. So there's no getting around that. There's no shortcutting that. But we can talk about it in the next point as to some of the things that you can do to make sure that you speed the process up a little bit, right? So there's no way around it. I'm not going to say there's a way around it. You can't short circuit the system. It means that you're still getting people to know you. You're still getting people, you're still trying to understand what's going to make them give you their email, right? So at this point, as I said, we're trying to be clear that we're taking it from a stance of you do have these things in place. We're not taking it from that build perspective, but rather from that perspective of you have a database. You haven't been talking to them consistently, regularly, and so on and so forth. Here's a good place to start. We're in Q4, lean into it. I also want to add that why we talk email so much. One, email has some of the highest conversion rates still among all of the channels. Two, it allows for some testing very quickly. So you can create your landing pages and you can do some A/B testing. That's also critical when I'm saying leaning to your existing email database. As you said, it's that push to get them to open. It's that push to get them to read and to click through from that email. A/B testing in email, in most email platforms, is a built-in feature, allows you to literally hone on the fly your messaging, right? So you can say, let's say for example, you have an email database of 1,000 followers. You've crafted a nurture sequence and you think, man, this is the best, this is going to work. Hey, no, you don't need to send this out to 1,000 people one time. How about you take 30 of those people and you try that same email, but you change the subject line. You try that email, but you change one call to action. And I just want to be clear, we're changing one thing at a time, but these are the one things you'll change. You'll move where the call to action is. And then when you see the better result, that's the result that goes to the remaining 1,000 people, less that 25 or 50 or however many you A/B tested with. So again, you get that ongoing testing on the fly. And this is where we're showing how nimble you can be with digital and learn and totally implement where you're going to see some higher open rates. I hope this kind of answered your question, Michelle.
It does. It does. And I wanted, to put that out there because we do have a community of people who are new business owners that haven't seen this before, that don't have a healthy, list of people that they're trying to reach out to and trying to understand how do I, one, get those people. And I know we're going to cover that in the next point, but two, then what do you do next? There's something that I think is imperative that we understand in this space too, because we're in a short window of time that we're trying to capture this revenue to move us from the red into the black, is that it is not a one-for-one touch point. It takes anywhere from 8 to 10 touch points with one person to get them to buy on average. Now, think of the number of people who are looking to get your same client's attention, the number of emails that they're going to get, the flood of messaging that they're going to get in any space that they're in the online space. It's a lot. So that's why we said it's important for you to understand who your target audience is so that your message meets their need and it speaks directly to them, delivered in the places that they will be at the time of day that they are shopping. Really important that they are looking. The second piece is that it's important to lean into the email component of this, because what if something happens to one of these spaces that you are going to be locked out or you are no longer there? We have had many a person in our community that has told a story about how they were locked out of IG. Something happened in Pinterest or in Facebook or pick an online medium. Who owns your client's information? Are you unable to communicate with that client now because you don't have access to them in those spaces? If you have their email address, that is a place for you to still have a mode of communication that is not solely dependent upon online. Do you have their phone number to bring a text message to them and deliver messaging that way? That's a big thing now. Text messaging, delivery of communication in that fashion. So that's another reason for you to begin to develop your email database so that you have control of your buying community and not just solely dependent upon the likes of a Twitter or TikTok, Facebook, all of these areas. Develop your relationship outside of these media.
Oh boy, you are bringing it this morning. So yes, definitely, and Andrea, definitely want to give you your time to just kind of weigh in on this. So yes, email, of course, we've said email. Definitely, you want to make sure you're sending the right things to the right contacts at the right time. So you want to make sure that you are being intentional, looking at your database, how to segment it. If you're still growing that database, we're going to talk about what gets you growing that database next. But definitely, it's that know, like, trust. But once you've gotten them, I think I also want to address that there's no such thing as too many emails. There's too many wrong emails, but there's no such thing as too many emails. So don't be worried. You want to be top of mind, and you're only going to be top of mind by continually talking to your email database. What makes it relevant? Their past behavior. What actions did they take? What led them to your email database? Keep it in line with that journey that they are on and speak to them accordingly. Andrea, I know you are just spot on, just building all of these things. You're setting some things in place. What's your take on it?
Yeah, so definitely, this is the stage that I am at. I look at my email database, and now I was not practicing any structured email marketing before. But I was amazed that when I finally decided, okay, I need to start looking at email marketing as a strategy. And I went into my list of emails and I was surprised at the number of emails that I had. And it was just simply emails. I use HubSpot to communicate and collect to manage my CRM. So even though I wasn't really doing email marketing, the HubSpot was at least collecting the email addresses. And when I sat and I started to go through these emails and I was amazed. And I said, wow, in the past couple of years, you've collected a lot of emails. And I have to actually now go through and just we talk about the segmentation. And to it was pretty amazing to see the quantum first of all, and the fact that that I had information that allowed me to segment. So within recency, I've started to update the information, first of all, things like making sure that maybe the services that they took have been updated so that when I'm ready to pull that segmented list, I could go and pull a list of all the people that have probably taken a particular service from me. And I'm seeing the value in it because most recently I decided to launch a workshop and I decided let me go back into my database and I've been able to pull out from emails who do I think would benefit from this. And I didn't just do a blast. I didn't just say, let me just send it to everybody in my email database. I actually sat down and spent some time. And I got, three different lists of who do I think I want to offer this to and how, how can it work. So I think yes, I'm seeing where email marketing I think has been underrated, I think, because when I started this journey, I remember the very earliest, nobody spoke to me about emails. Everybody was about go to social media. So yeah, yeah, of course, this is pre YBID. This is pre meeting you guys, right? And you're there teaching yourself, and everything was driven towards social media. Have the Facebook page, have the Instagram page, get the follows, and I was consumed with that for a while. And I realized, but it's not really giving me the return though. But then email marketing now and the way that they speak about email marketing, you realize, wow, it really does have some value. If I could spend some time speaking to people that already communicated with me, right, it makes a difference than me trying to put something out on social media and hoping people like it, right, and trying to get them in the door. Now it has its place, don't get me wrong, but email marketing definitely for businesses like myself that have some skin in the game now. We grow up a little bit and it's like, oh, okay, I see you. I think it makes sense to us now at this point to say, okay, go back into your database and, you know, maximize the potential that is there.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yes, your email database is worth its weight in gold, right? So what can you expect to see happen if you haven't been, into your email database, you haven't been communicating with your subscribers? I would say you still lean into it. You're probably going to see some unsubscribes, but don't be afraid, right? That means that they're not your ideal customer. They're not your ideal target customer. You want to be talking to who is your ideal customer, and those people will stay and they will show themselves. So we were talking about that scenario if you were just building your email database. And that brings me to the next point, which is one easy place to start is always optimization and showing up on your profiles. And what do we mean? You've got paid versus organic search, right? Paid versus organic activity, let's say. And what I'm saying here is that a first port of call is that we all have things that we may not have done on our profiles to optimize them to the fullest extent, to as close as possible to 100%. So we want to make sure and go in, optimize those profiles. What does that look like? Making sure your description is up to date, making sure your call to action is up to date in your bios and so on. And you want to make sure that you are engaging with your content, engaging with anybody who comes into your profile, new followers, that you're speaking to them, that you're reaching out to other profiles on a consistent and daily basis. That's what's going to give me the confidence. So a question I hear from the customer perspective all the time is, I see all of this, especially during this time when there's Black Friday sale, there's Halloween sales, there's all kinds of sales. How do I know this company is real? How do I know this is, this is above board? Well, we've demonstrated it here. We show up every Monday and Wednesday. Tamara has showed up on Clubhouse for 365 days, and we have shown up on Clubhouse for the majority of this year. So you want to make sure that you are showing up on your profiles. Just literally a week ago, we talked about a Forbes magazine which said you can't have a business without a personal brand. Well, guess what? Who's that brand? It's you. So people want to know who is the face, who is the voice behind the brand. They want to know the story. Showing up on your brand, showing up on your profiles is going to accelerate that process of know, like, and trust, at least getting them to know you. We don't know if they like you yet, but they will get to know you, and at least they're seeing you. Michelle, I see you're nodding. So I think this is one for you as well.
Oh, yeah. It's a big one for me. It is in the sales realm, and just personally, I want all of us to think of these things too. We're wearing a business hat when we're in here in many of these spaces, but I also want you to put your personal hat on when you're in this space and think about when you're in looking in these spaces, what makes you pay attention quickly? We make decisions in our brain in nanoseconds. I don't know how many zeros involved in that, but I remember when I read this, I was so amazed at how it was like 0.00000 something 7 is where it went into. And so our brains are capable and are ingenious in making decisions quickly. So we see things, our brain processes, and we move on really quickly. That means that when we are sitting from a business perspective, from the other side, trying to get a message out, that message that we need to put out either verbally or in our profiles, the written word needs to be really succinct. So not just your name, but what do you do? Look at some profiles where it may say sales and pricing, or it may say, virtual CFO. It may, those things, not just the generic something or another. You want to put something out there that's going to capture their attention. When you are putting your profile out there and you're doing an introduction, all of these niceties that you get, people don't have time for all of that. They want to hear quickly when if it's a video especially, or if it's the written word, why do you want my attention? How are you providing value to me in my world? And do it fast. Make your point quickly, because everyone is vying for my attention. So if you want my attention, tell me something I want to hear. Don't make it all fluffy. all of the niceties, it will eventually come. But that first impression needs to be fast and it needs to be really good. So what Andrea was saying, I enjoyed right away when she spoke about looking and spending time logically going through her email database and understanding who was there and where they need to sit. Important because she provided a curated message that was specific to them, and it wasn't just a general email blast out to everyone. She wanted to understand who was there, and that is important for all of us to embrace, because when we're sending messages out, every message isn't for everyone. You may have different product lines where a message is only good for 30% of your database, and that's okay. That 30%, if you're converting at a really good rate of that 30% of people, that's better than throwing a message out to everyone and having your conversion rate and your open rate, let's start there. That open rate be small, and then the conversion rate on that open rate be minuscule because you didn't take the time to really look and pull out those that particular message would be important to. That engagement will be better. That nurture sequence that Andrea spoke to, meaning the multiples of the progressive messages that will go out to your prospective buyers to move them farther down the sales journey, will rapidly increase in tone to get them to convert. Well, if you're just sending that to everyone, they're turning off after the first one. They're going to opt out early on, and that's not what you want to have happen. You want to keep your database healthy, but sending the right message to the right person with something that they want. Always, and stay engaged. Remember, 7 to 10 touch points before they actually buy. So it could take a few messages in order to get them through the know, like, and that trust factor for them to really pay attention to your product, buy your product, and then come back again and rotate through in that sales continuum. So take the time, be intentional, have some method, have some logic to what you're doing, and your clients will come back and then refer people back to your business.
You know, every now and then I just wish we had horns again. We're going to get some kind of sound. We need to get back some kind of sound, because, you know, when this comes to the fore, it just feels like, oh, you got to get some horns here. Got to get some horns. So definitely showing up on your profile, being intentional. As Michelle just said, that great example that Andre was very intentional with the email database. And showing up on your profiles, what does that look like? That looks like showing up for lives. That looks like showing up in your stories. All these places that are not non-permanent. Why? Because a lot of people have found that when it does not look like an ad, they tend to consume the content more readily, right? And that's a proven fact based on the numbers. So it's also when people comment, when people join, even in your email database. And when we're talking segmentation of your email database, again, you may be hearing, oh my goodness, so I have to write like 3 different email series. Well, not necessarily. Most times your audience, the change in messaging to your audience may be very small. So while you've segmented, you may only need to change one email in a specific chain. You may need to update a call to action, not rewrite the entire series for each segment necessarily, right? So just to keep that clear, this is all things that I know we have been asked as digital marketers by our clients, by people who are wondering, well, how do I, wrap my head around all of this and keep it going? So definitely look at that segmentation, look at showing up on your profiles. It's the little things and that consistency more than anything that counts in terms of your audience and what they see, and ultimately the actions that they take and you want them to take, which is purchase, buy, convert, become a customer. And I know we're coming close to the top of the hour, so we have 2 more points. Let me get to the next point. Our 6th point is use the technology to help facilitate and automate the sales strategy. Now, before I pop this over to you, Michelle, I am a fan of automation. I am an absolute fan of automation. It helps so much. And as small businesses, it's something that was not necessarily available to us, not too long ago, not that long, not that far back in the past, right? And automation is going to help us do a lot of these heavy lifting tasks. It's also going to help us present customer service that's, above our competition, right? And we can lean into it in a number of ways. We can lean into the automation from a content production perspective. If it's automating that production of content, when a video is done one place, it's easily distributed and cut and then posted to several different profiles. It could be automation as far as your email series, depending on what they do, the email that they get. What comes back to you as a hot lead? Maybe those are the leads that you need to contact directly. So automation is definitely a big one. It can help you so much. And definitely when you have 2 months left, the only thing that you may want to consider is if you have a learning curve with the automation, you need to get that outside help before you automate. Just like we've said before, you've got to have some kind of plan. The tech will work with whatever plan you have. So there's enough tech available for every circumstance. So make sure you have a clear outline of the steps that you want to happen in your automation. Then you can start looking for what tool provides this type of automation, right? And there's several types of automations out there. There's automation within email. There's separate automation via apps like Zapier, which is, I think, maybe the biggest one out there. So it's all about connecting what happens so that when people take an action, you are hands off, and that automates that sales cycle and makes it repeatable. And of course, what do we see? Money coming into the bottom line over and over once we continue to fine tune that process. So I'll kick it to you, Michelle. Automation, let the technology help.
Oh, please let the technology help you, especially in this world where there aren't an army of people helping in the small business environment. Embracing technology will help you to be consistent and sustainable. 2 words that I used in my intro. Many areas, it affects all facets of your business, but especially in the sales strategy. I love it because I'll just give one place because I know we're running out of time and utilize that. Think of quizzes. We're all have either taken a quiz or putting out a quiz for your buying community. When we set up a quiz, you're able to also segment your business and deliver a message through your email database in your nurture sequence that will automatically happen based upon the triggers that you've set up behind the scenes in your automation. Love that. So it is almost an additional salesperson for your business because there is continued activity and touch points throughout things that are done, not by you through every facet, but because you've set up the process and the system will then take it from that point. It allows you to have a CRM, a customer retention management system that will allow you to understand what the next touch points are for your client. It will help you to be the customer service person. Once that sale is done, then a welcome message can be done. It's a thank you message and a follow-up to let them know that the package is on the way, where it is in the process. Once they received it, did you like it? Tell me more. Give me a review. Tell a friend. All of that is automated processes. Touch points, it allows you to engage, it allows you to sell, it allows you to service without you having to do it all by yourself. So lean into it hard, people. It makes sense. And money sense, your CFO will tell you too, once you run the numbers for it as well.
Definitely. Andrea, thoughts on automation. But before you start, I just got a comment I need to show you all. Look who's in the, now she promised she would be there. She promised she'd be in the background looking and seeing what we're doing. So she's saying hi. So for everyone on Clubhouse, we're just saying Tamara is just saying hi. She misses everyone here, both on Clubhouse and LinkedIn. You know she had to pop in, right? But yes, that automation is really exciting. And I want to make sure that we are looking at automation in its fullest sense, right? There's also that part of the automation that's letting you know when key things happen. So let's say you have a customer that made an unusually high purchase. You want to make sure and know that as it happens. So you're going to get some flags. You want something totally different, as Michelle just outlined, to happen. So automation can happen a lot, both externally to push out stuff, but it can also happen internally as far as just your ongoing operational tasks, making sure that they're easy, that they update your calendar, that they update your meetings, etc. So it's not just external facing, it's also internal facing, just to be clear. Andrea, what are your thoughts? I know you are coming closer and closer to a lot of these things that we're talking about now?
So as a business owner, yes, I am doing all these different things in the background, spending. I will say the initial investment requires a lot of time to sit, but because you have to sit and think, I'm doing a lot of thinking about my processes and how I could automate. But with my CFO hat on, I have to say, as a CFO, we love automation. We love it because automation equals efficiency and sustainability, right? Um, you can't, all those different tasks that Michelle spoke about, we don't have the resources to do that. We don't have, first of all, even if you had one or two persons, that's still too much for one or two persons to do, right? It's a lot of work. And then you're always caught in this battle of trying to be efficient and trying to maximize the use of your resources. If you have staff, making sure you have enough work for them, this, that, and the third, right? But with automation, it allows you to do so much more that the cost savings you get in the long run, it makes sense for a small business. So every small business, that should be, I think that should be a staple, right? There is time for personal, yes, and there's time for having a physical resource. Because I mean, these apps can't, I mean, yes, we have AI and stuff, right? That's a whole other story. But the intellectual, you will still need the intellectual, and we get that, right? We totally get that. But where you have these repetitive tasks that you just need somebody to click, you just need a button clicked to send a particular email or to follow up on something, hell yes, do the automation and save yourself money in the long run and make yourself more efficient so that you could do more with your business. So on the two hats, it's a thumbs up. It's a thumbs up.
I'd just like to give one automation example. So let's say we're looking at producing content, automating producing content. So I'm going to use three things here. I'm going to use a document, I'm going to use Zapier, and I'm going to use a scheduler, right? Let's call it Hootsuite. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to have a document template that is my inputs for my post, right? So it may be what's the post about, what's the image I want in the post, and maybe something else. What's the call to action? Zapier then says, I can say to Zapier, okay, look, anytime this document is created with this name, pull these fields and feed it into Jasper.ai, into the attention, interest, desire framework. And then that pushes out a result. Once it gets a result, I want that result posted back to me in another document. And that can happen automatically. So that, in essence, my writing of content just becomes taking a couple bullet points and saving the file. And the automation will take it straight through to get me at least an 80% point with a caption for a post. What do you all think? I'm seeing the nods. I'm seeing
That
like,
is.
But yes, that's as simple as it can work from an internal perspective as well. It's not just externally, but that's how some heavy lifting, can get done. Because some of these tools, when you get them working together, that automation, you really see the power of it.
Mm-hmm. Michael, you know what you just did too.
I know.
For those that did not put those together, he essentially put the mind power, the intellectual property of like 4 different positions in one automated process. Many of us don't know, are uncomfortable writing things, writing text that needs to go in. Jasper is a way to do it. He just said, okay, I need to do these things. And it's in a Word document or a document that we all, scribe in. And I'm floored because we have to then search for where we put that darn document. Now it sits, it's sitting in that place. You're just like, no, push the button, pull these things, put it there. And then it feeds back to me and it advises me, it consults with me to help me to move my business forward, feeding to me words that people want to hear and tells and directs me. So you know how much a consultant is? Do you know? I mean, operations wise, it's really expensive. If that routine that Michael said didn't make you want to really figure this out, then come back on Wednesday because we're going to talk a bit more. But really, we can get into a few more examples and really dive deep into this. But that should pique your interest enough to say, I have never heard of Jasper. I wasn't sure about Zap. All of these automated places, lean in. It's really important because that's 4 different positions that is moving into here. Now, the human resources aspect and putting people out of a job, whole other thing that we can get into on a different day. But as a small business owner, you need this help. You need the time back to you. You need the efficiency because this is going to help you to make money. That's what we're here for, to not just make money, but to flow as much of that down to the bottom line so that your net profit is as great as it can possibly be. And these processes and systems will help you do it.
Absolutely. And Andrea, I'm definitely going to give you 2 minutes because another one is HubSpot, of course, right? And we're seeing the power of HubSpot as well. So again, automations where somebody's moving straight through your pipeline. They've gotten an email, and then HubSpot will say, okay, because they not only got this email and opened this email, I can set up things where if they've opened 3 of my emails, put them in a different workflow. If they've opened 4, put them in this workflow. If they've opened 5, call me. And that's all within one program. So there's a lot we can talk about in automation. So I'm going to wrap it up with just over the hour, but let's talk about that last point. The point being is that when we're doing digital marketing, and this is why we're here on YBID every Monday and Wednesday, don't develop these things in a silo, right? You want to take that holistic look. We understand and we realize that the challenge when we're talking digital marketing is understanding how it affects all areas of our business, whether we are a small enterprise or a small business, a solopreneur. We're trying to understand how does all of this work together to earn revenue. So you want to be taking that holistic look. I'm going to pass it back to Michelle, and then we're going to wrap up quickly. It's been a morning. We've been discussing, and yes, we're going to continue this discussion on Wednesday, and we're going to look, how does this lead you into Q1? Because that's the next thing, right? We're into the new year. Michelle, take it away.
This point is imperative that we embrace because this is a team effort. This is not a singular person making typically all of the decisions and moving it forward. That is a recipe for disaster, which is why we said don't develop this pricing and marketing strategy in the silo. Me, as the person that does pricing and has a sales strategy, putting that on the table and saying, here's the intention. These are the products that I want to move forward for these reasons, and this is the target audience, will then naturally lend into either Andrea saying, well, or Michael and Tamara in, well, this is the marketing that we think we need to put forward. If we're going to do these things, Michelle, did you think about, are they sitting in Instagram, or is your client really an email client, or sitting in LinkedIn? And in the marketing component, Michael may come back on the operations and say, here's how we can execute that in a fashion that makes sense, and to move forward your sales strategy in the way that he just spoke about, utilizing, Hootsuite and Zap or AI in Jasper to make that happen. But Andrea's going to throw something on the table that's going to say, well, how much is all of that going to cost? And let's run the numbers to see if the way we're trying to mix the products that flow through because of the expenses is going to hit the bottom line that we need to get to. So that's why we're saying don't do this in the silo, get other opinions. They're going to put valuable information on the table that will help to achieve the revenue profit and profit goals that we were seeking from point one. So it all kind of ties together. So it's important for us to have other opinions at the table because we all will grow from it and get to that final destination.
Andrea, you're our virtual CFO. You've heard a lot this morning. Do you feel confident that we are a little closer to being in a position to achieve our Q4 goals?
Yes, definitely. These steps, and I love the last point especially when we talk about so operating in a silo is my pet peeve, right? Even from my corporate my corporate career, I would always speak about organizations operating in silos and HR not speaking to finance. and sales go in and do what they want, and then marketing come back and tell you, and it's like nobody is really speaking to each other, and then you expect finance to work miracles, right? You go out there, you make a bad deal in sales, and you come back and you have to tell in finance, well, this is the deal that we make, and finance is saying, well, this is not profitable. So the silo, that's a pet peeve of mine, and I would always encourage business owners, whether you're alone in your business or you have a team, you cannot be making these silo decisions, and because in the end you will be stepping on the toes of each other area, and you will just be bouncing around, right? So you would make a bad decision and it will impact sales and vice versa. But these steps, when taken together, and I guess that's why I like that we spoke about silos, when taken together, it could really help you close out your Q4 strong, close it out, or at least better than what you were anticipating before. And it gives you that structure to say, let's not just pelt things out there and hope it sticks, right? Let's do this thing with some sort of organization. And really, as we say, set you up for Q1 as well, because it doesn't just stop at Q4 and then we take this long break, Q1 is right there, right after. So it's almost like you have to set up a system that allows you achieve Q4 and just roll right into Q1. And as Michelle was saying, we hope to continue that conversation on Wednesday. But I love these points, and I think it's points that any business owner could at least start, even if you can't complete all, at least start to make some headway in implementing it.
Y'all, this has been a good Monday morning. Thank you so much. There's so many things that we can do to achieve our Q4 goals. This is only some of them that we've touched on this morning. We're going to continue the discussion on Wednesday. We're going to keep it into the holiday season and moving into Q1 of 2023. So I'll get a quick wrap up. I am Michael Wiltshire. You can always reach me at michael@monovandigital.com or right here at YBID every Monday and Wednesday at 7 a.m. And I'm going to pass it over to my amazing co-hosts to introduce themselves, and let's get out of here.
All right, I am Andrea Ragu. I am your virtual CFO for your business. I help you manage the money of your business better and help you make better financial decisions for long-term wealth and sustainability. See us on Wednesday, where we continue this amazing conversation.
And finally, I am Michelle Gordon with Lagniappe Digital Consulting. I am here to help you to determine your pricing and sales strategies for consistency and longevity and finding your revenue blind spots. Please join us on Wednesday. We will continue this conversation. If you do need help in understanding how to get to those net profit margins and figure out your mix of business, head on over to anywhere in my profile, click on the link to my website, and you can get to a calculator that I have there that's for profit margins, and download that. It will help you to easily get to that. But please come back on Wednesday. We will continue this conversation, dig deeper into specific things and operations and finance and in the pricing and sales realm. Join you on Wednesday and have a fabulous Monday.
Have a great day, everyone. Take care.
Take care.